Oof. She's humid too. And I just showered for the second time today. And I have a feeling it's gonna be the third one. I kind of want to plug this in, but I think the audio is gonna. Yeah, I think it might be a little loud. I might shut it off here in a second. So airflow. So I do want to make an update, like an actual car update versus like these little mini ones that I've been doing. You see, I moved the car a little bit. I needed to clean up over there. So I ended up moving it here for the time being, but it's going to be lifted back up. But I kind of want to set it down and see where it's at. Since I got the rear stuff done on the diffs in, the spindles are back in. It's got new shocks on it, all, you know, brake pads, rotors, all that stuff. And it is sitting high, so I need to, there's a rod that goes down. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. Probably not. So that long rod right there, it's gonna be really hard to see it. That's the monoleaf spring. And if you tighten that, it'll drop the car down. And I kind of put it where I thought it would be, but it's obviously about, in my opinion, about an inch too high. I want it to sit stock, so we'll have to lower that. But hopefully you can see down here, I don't have that nice light over here. And I got a mess in the passenger seat and in the back too. But I do want to go over some of the stuff that has been done now. Obviously, wheels are done, got tires on it. These will be kind of interesting as a street tire. These won't be what I run when I plan on doing race week, hopefully next year. I will have to switch over to something a lot better, obviously, but these would be like the travel tire. These are these cheap Riken, oh, what are they, Raptors? Summit used to sell them. These are they're all the way around 275, 40, where are they? 275, 40, 17s. Yeah. And Summit used to sell these for a few years, and people like to have them as kind of like a drag tire. The compound is pretty hard, but they're a pretty decent tire. The guy that does some of my tire balancing and mounting, he did say one of them were kind of awkward to balance. It did balance out, but it took a little bit more weight than he liked. So he said to drive it, and I can warranty it within like a year or so. So I got a year to warranty that tire, but he said he's done worse, but he's just not a huge fan of having to put as many weights as what he had to put on one of them. But we'll see what happens. I mean, the tires are they were $104 a piece from Tire Rack, so if it's shit and the warranty's up, I'll just get another tire. They're still way cheaper than anything else I get, and I like the tread. I like the how this is laid out. It's very aggressive, and they do look nice. So getting $104 a tire, I literally bought the set, had it installed and everything, and I think it cost me like $550. So the budget, I believe, was $750, so there was $200 off there on that. There's nothing really going on the motor side. Obviously, I think the last thing I've done in here is like this, and I need to do the other dump on the other side. Like I've mentioned before, I think I am going to cut this and put a V-band on here to get a little more flex. But like I said, all you have to do is loosen that and just pry it, and it works. Not pry the pipe, but to turn the wastegate. And then here I need to figure out something to come down here. The idea with this hood, I'm going to take these off at some point, and I am going to put louvers in here about up to here. That way they sit over the hot pipe section. What I'm hoping is it'll draw air up the front, it'll go over the top motor, go underneath it, and it'll have a way to escape because it won't have this section. You see on that side, sorry, I'm going back and forth. Like here, there normally be a piece. I'm hoping that air kind of escapes here, escapes through the hood louvers, and the fans can kick all that stuff pretty well. And we'll see if we can keep the temperatures down in here, because like I said, it's very compact. I mean, just sitting there, it's very, very compact. So, yeah, I mentioned got the rear end stuff done. I still got to put brakes and hubs on the front. I did put hubs in the back too. But I got to get that. I'm putting on 4th gen Firebird hubs on the front. They're a little bit different than the C4 Corvette ones. They have the threading, I believe, on them themselves, so you have to put a bolt on the back side. But the funny thing is they tend to be supposedly a little bit beefier of a wheel bearing, wheel hub, and they're cheaper. So I'm like, I will get a better, what's supposedly supposed to be a better wheel bearing for cheaper. So you just have to put the bolt on the back side instead of it. They're basically backwards. I can't remember what the C4 is and what the Firebird is, but they're basically backwards. So you just get a different bolt and do it the opposite way. People do it all the time. So people that especially build race cars, they always put the Firebird Camaro ones on F bodies, Fortune F bodies. You see all the wires just sitting out here. I think I went over this piece. This is basically the interior. The non-braided portion is I have to add length for windshield wipers. That's what controls the motor. And then this is for the power going into the car, refuses, and it will bring power in. So I do have to do that. I have seats for this thing. I'll post the pictures of what they are. And I wanted to test fit one of them in here, but at the time I was just so filthy and I wasn't going to go grab a seat and set it in there and test it. So I'll do that later. But yeah, the C-beam is in. I made the update. You can see the center section there. And it's all bolted in. The only thing I haven't done yet is put 3 bolts, the 3 Allen bolts to the transmission tail shaft. I have to go get them yet. I normally get all my bolts from like Menards and stuff, and they hardly don't care. They don't carry Allen head bolts anymore, and if they do, they're not big enough. They only have a few selections, so I'm gonna have to run to like Fastenal or maybe Runnings or Mills Fleet Farm or something, and try to find that. But the idea is to use one of these old license plates because that will be covered with a center console. But basically, what it is, I'm gonna put nutsets in there. And it's probably too big now. So yeah, as you can see now, it is too big. But I could do that and put 2 of them together. Basically, I'm just gonna cover that hole, get it to where I can remove it. That way, when I remove the C-beam, you take the center console off, you remove that, and then you unbolt it from inside the car. What else has been done? Honestly, not a ton, other than getting it back on the ground and getting everything situated. I'm gonna start the brake setup. So the brakes are one thing that I need to get obviously going before I drive this or move this thing out of the garage under its own power. That's where the old ABS block used to be. And as you can see, all the inlets and outlets, I have some of them marked like this is here. This is like left rear. This is right front. This one is, I can't really see earlier. That's left front. And then these other ones were unmarked on the ABS block, so I'm really not sure what they are. I know like 2 of them go back to the reservoir, or 2 of them go to the master cylinder, 1 of them goes back to the reservoir, I believe. So I'm guessing it's probably this one goes back to the, this one goes back to the reservoir right there, and I believe those 2 go back to the master cylinder, or the master cylinder. But I will have to verify that. I won't be using that. I think it's this one right, so you can see the 2 come up here, and they're on the other side. This is a Buick Regal 3800 master cylinder, and then that is the return to the reservoir. It's for the ABS system, so that can basically be eliminated. What I'm going to do for now is just plug it, and then I'll end up ripping that out. But I need to make extenders to go here. That's an M12, that's an M10. These are both M12, so there's going to be an adapter from M12 to M10 here. These go to the rear, those go to the front. This is generic 7-inch like hot rod brake booster that takes a 1-inch center bore. This is a 1-inch center bore. They come on Grand Prix, Bonnevilles, Monte Carlos, any of the W body cars from like 98, 97, 98 up. And they just bring it towards this side and keeps away from the hot side here. So if anybody wants it cheap, you can get these things for like 35 bucks brand new. I just got it from a junkyard, it cost me like 5 bucks. So I mentioned it before, but now that I'm doing the brakes, I'm gonna start making sure I let you guys know like this is what I got in case it's something that interests you for your build, and then you can go look it up for yourself. So there's all the wiring that I made. I made this on a plotter. Basically, it has all of the wiring that I took out from All Data, do it yourself. And this is like the section, like here is the section that would be back here in the C1 input. And then you got like your turn signals, your defrost. I'm trying to make a generic AC climate system where it's like the fan is like on low or high, and then you turn the heat on or you turn the AC on. I kind of want to figure it out and maybe do like race car style flip switches, but I'm trying to figure out something that's the same size as what came in the Corvettes. And I would like to replace it with something a little bit newer that I could tie in, but I think the easiest way is gonna just figure out the circuitry on it and then just label it and be like AC on, AC off, recirculation on, recirculation off. Just have the flip switches, and then just do it that way. I think that'll be the easiest way of doing it. And it'll be like that race car style, but it's just less wiring. I don't have to fool around figuring out the computer and the actual module itself. I try to look for something from like a Pontiac because the interior lights on this are red, or they were red. And then if I got a Pontiac, like all that stuff is red. But now with custom gauges, it doesn't really matter anymore. And that's another thing I need to work on, is getting the gauge set up in here. But I want to do that after I get power in the car and I get this thing like moving on its own power. And then once I know everything's good, we'll get the coolant flushed on that, get coolant in it, make sure we have no leaks. I got a slight oil leak on the engine somewhere. I think I still have it, but it's really odd because the engine hasn't run for a couple months now, and I'll keep wiping it off and it's still leaking. And it's not just leaking in one spot, it's like the whole bottom of the oil pan is leaking. So I doubt I have a bad oil pan, but it is a China oil pan. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through, retighten everything, go verify everything's tight, or go think everything's sealed, sorry, and just run the car, let it idle, and then really, like, I think I might just stick a camera under there and a couple of them and just see where it may be leaking, and then we can go from there. But if it is like a warped oil pan or something like that, I'll just order a GM oil pan. I'm not going to screw around with the cheap $90 China ones. I know some people have had really good luck with them. I've had good luck with them. The last one I had on my Firebird was my 98 was a China one. I had no problem with that at all. It worked good, and it sealed right up. But that was also 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. So that is that. I don't know of anything else that I've been working on. The roll cage, the strut kit is here. But no main hoop because it was lost in the mail, and Jags refuses to send me another one without me paying them another $109 in shipping, which is outrageous because it was not my fault that it was lost in shipping. That's why you have insurance for that stuff. You don't charge your customer another over $100 for shipping for a main hoop that costs $73. So I'm going to have a buddy of mine, we're gonna make one ourselves. We'll go over to his shop and do it. But those mounts you see there on that side, that's what holds this top in when you take it out and you want to put it in the back. If I want to keep those, I would have to put plates down there, which is extremely annoying to try to box that in. But what I can do is I can remove that. I could maybe move it slightly that way a little bit. I'd have to test fit it and see how it fits back here. But basically, the frame rails in the back, they come up here and they go through here, and a lot of people just make the main hoop right here and they come around. That way you have this little stubby area, you don't have to go away to the floor, everything's here, you weld directly to the frame. You take your driver bar doors, or your driver bar, or door bars, sorry, and you come down here and tie into here, cut those out. Same thing back here is I would just come back out here and then I would do the plates down here. That's what I understand. But no, I can't do that. It would have to go to here because this is all fiberglass. So yeah, same thing here, right in the frame. I might have to do something here. That's where the speakers go. So I might have to cut this, or just basically I'll have to see what the certification is to degree, how tight it can go down. Otherwise you can just come right here and just right here to the frame rail. And you don't have to worry about the plates. Everything's tight in the frame, you're good. I'd like to make the door bars removable. I'll have to look at that. Otherwise, for now, I might just weld them in and just keep them in. And just be like, if you want to get in the car, you just have to step your fat ass over them and get in the car. So, anything else that I can think of? Drive shaft is still there. I need to get the strap kit for it so I can get that in. I gotta get the Allen head bolts in there. The exhaust, that's something I need to also work on. I need to get some more bends because both of it's just open headers right now, or open exhaust, just dumps, they go down. And I gotta get that so I can get that tied back in. I'm using the stock mufflers. I do not have the resonator, so that'll be gone. It's still going to be fairly quiet because with the turbo is basically being a muffler, it kind of would be the resonator. I wouldn't be surprised if the thing was actually quieter than stock. I'm assuming it's going to be about the same thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually quieter. I'd be more surprised if it was louder, and honestly, with the twin turbos and then still having the stock mufflers and all that stuff. And then the piping that I got, especially for the hot piping side, is thicker than this stuff. This stuff is a little bit thinner. Stock stuff is, oddly enough, than the stuff I got. So that's that. There isn't much else, just wiring and stuff. This is kind of how the car's gonna be for right now. I'll probably put it in an angle a little bit, but waiting for a dipstick tube to come in for the transmission. I had to order like a longer one and one that was a little bit more forgiving, because the one that came with this, with how it S's down, it would just keep catching the tube and it wouldn't go into the transmission. So I believe that right there is like 28 inches, and I ordered like a Dodge, or no, it wasn't a Dodge, it was some kind of Jeep one, and they're like 54 inches long, and it's like that braided, here, I'll explain my wife's vehicle, their Traverse. It's like the braided wire instead of like the long metal wire. Most people probably know what I'm talking about right now. So like that braided, it's a little bit more forgiving, it doesn't bind up, and that's what that is, and it's actually a transmission dipstick too. So I'll put that in the car, I'll cut it at the top, because there's like a set screw on the top of this hand. This is just a handle. I can't get it out right now, it needs to be spaced, it gets caught in there, but there's like a set screw in there, so you would cut the top of it, you would unbolt the pan, mark it on the end, cut it, so put the set screw on there, and then you have your length dipstick for the 4L80. And that is in there, obviously, it's hanging there, everything. The drivetrain's pretty much almost done. Just getting that small parts, jacking the car back up and spending an hour or two and getting that stuff in there. So that's the update. If you guys have any questions, let me know. The next steps are to do the little stuff, brake fittings, get the dipstick tube in, the little stuff in the drivetrain, lower this a little bit further, bleed it, get the coolant system done, and then I'm going to basically, I don't have the power steering hooked up, which is perfectly fine, but I'm going to attempt to basically move this thing out of the garage and back in under its own power by July 27th. So like I said, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, you guys have a good day, good night. I'll talk to you later. Bye.